There was a time when TV stations actually went to sleep at night. When families crowded around their rented TV set, hoping to not miss anything. When kids squeezed into tiny bubble cars with their parents, and everyone knew that toilet paper at school was going to be terrible. The 1960s had coal fires crackling in sitting rooms, pirate radio stations broadcasting from ships, and children playing outside until the streetlights flickered on. Here are 18 things that we will never forget from 1960s. 1. Black and white TV test cards and national anthem at close down. Let's start with something that would blow kids' minds today. TV stations that actually went to sleep. Programs didn't run all night like they do now. When the last show ended, you'd see a test card pattern on screen, maybe hear the national anthem playing, and then nothing. The screen went completely dark between 2 o'clock at night and 6 o'clock in the morning. TV was so special that even its bedtime felt important. Children would rush to finish homework before their favorite show started because there was no second chance, no recordings, no streaming later. If you missed it, you waited a whole week for the next episode. Families planned their evenings around TV schedules like they were sacred rituals. The test card became a symbol that the day was officially over and it was time for real life to begin again. Parents would use TV close down as a natural curfew. When the national anthem played and the screen went black, everyone knew it was time for bed. There was something comforting about this routine, this shared moment when the entire country's entertainment came to a peaceful end. 2. Renting TVs. Most families didn't own one. They rented it instead. Some even had coin-operated sets where you had to feed money just to watch. It was like having a vending machine for entertainment right in your sitting room. Companies like Radio Rentals, DER, and Rediffusion offered monthly rentals that included maintenance, which meant a service engineer would often come to fix the set at no extra charge if it broke down. This made television feel precious and special. Every program was an investment, literally. Kids learned to appreciate what they watched because it cost real money. The hire purchase arrangements meant families made weekly payments, turning entertainment into a commitment that brought the whole household together around this magical box that brought the world into their sitting room. 3. Bubble cars and small vehicles. Getting around town meant squeezing into cars that looked like toys compared to today. Bubble cars, tiny minis, and vehicles with almost no safety features. Parking was easy because 3 of these cars could fit in one modern parking space. The BMW Isetta looked like someone had put wheels on a refrigerator. You climbed in through the front door, which was actually the entire front of the car. Families of 4 would somehow pack into these tiny vehicles for weekend trips, with luggage strapped to the roof and children squeezed into spaces that wouldn't fit a modern car seat. These cars had character and personality. They broke down regularly, but everyone knew how to fix them with basic tools. Neighbors would help push start each other's cars on cold mornings. The lack of power steering, air conditioning, or even proper heating made every journey an adventure. But gas was cheap, and these little cars could practically run on fumes. 4. Tracing paper toilet. School toilets were their own special kind of torture. The toilet paper was so thin you could almost see through it, like tracing paper. It was rough, scratchy, and about as useful as trying to dry your hands with tissue paper. Every kid knew that using the school toilets meant suffering through this terrible excuse for toilet paper. Teachers would joke that the school toilet paper was designed to build character, not comfort. You'd need to wrap it around your hand multiple times just to make it functional. Many kids learned to avoid school toilets entirely, waiting until they got home where real toilet paper existed. This wasn't just about cheap supplies, it was about priorities. Schools spent money on education, not luxury items like soft toilet paper. Kids accepted it as part of school life, like having to eat cafeteria food or wear uncomfortable uniforms. It taught everyone that home comforts were something to appreciate and not take for granted. 5. Radio Caroline and pirate radio. But here's where things got exciting. While grown-ups listened to boring, proper radio stations, young people had a secret rebellion happening on the airwaves. Pirate radio stations like Radio Caroline broadcast from ships floating in the ocean. These weren't legal stations, they were rebels playing the music adults didn't want kids to hear. Tuning in felt dangerous and thrilling, like you were part of something special. Radio Caroline broadcast from a ship anchored just outside British waters, beyond the reach of government control. DJs with cool names and American accents played rock and roll, pop hits, and music that made teenagers feel like they belonged to something bigger than their small towns. Parents complained about the influence of these stations, which only made them more appealing to young people. Kids would huddle around transistor radios with their friends, sharing earphones and discovering new bands. The signal would fade in and out with the weather, making every clear moment feel like a gift from the radio gods. These pirate stations created the first real youth culture radio experience. They didn't just play music, they spoke directly to teenagers about their lives, their dreams, and their rebellion against the adult world. Listening to pirate radio felt like joining a secret club that adults couldn't understand or control. 6. Supermarkets and changing shopping. Shopping was completely different too. Instead of giant supermarkets with endless aisles, people went to small local shops. The grocer knew your name. The baker saved your favorite bread. But slowly, modern supermarkets started appearing with their packaged goods, fresh produce sections, and more choices than anyone had ever seen. It felt like stepping into the future. Some families resisted the change, staying loyal to local shops where service was personal and credit was based on handshakes rather than plastic cards. Others embraced the convenience and variety. This shift changed more than just shopping. It changed how neighborhoods worked and how people connected with each other. 7. Package holidays becoming common. For the first time in history, regular families could afford to go on vacation abroad. Package holidays meant that working-class families could suddenly fly to Spain or other countries. Before this, only rich people traveled overseas. Now, ordinary families were packing their suitcases and heading to beaches they'd only seen in magazines. It was like the world had suddenly gotten smaller. Tour operators like Freddie Laker revolutionized travel by creating all-inclusive deals that ordinary people could afford. A week in Spain cost less than many families spent on their weekly groceries. Airports became busy with excited families carrying suitcases and wearing their best clothes for flying. 8. Toys and children's entertainment. Kids had simple but amazing toys. Lego blocks that could build anything your imagination dreamed up. Spirograph sets that made perfect geometric patterns. Action Man figures for adventures that lasted all day. TV shows were special events, not background noise. And the best part? Kids played outside until the streetlights came on, running wild through neighborhoods without a care in the world. Lego wasn't the sophisticated system it is today, just basic blocks that forced kids to use their imagination. No instruction manuals for complicated spaceships, just blocks and creativity. Children would build entire cities, destroy them, and build something completely different the next day. Spirograph created beautiful mathematical art with simple plastic wheels and colored pens. Kids spent hours making perfect geometric patterns, learning about mathematics without realizing it. The concentration required taught patience and precision in a world that was starting to move faster. Television programs like Blue Peter taught children to make things from toilet roll tubes and washing up liquid bottles. There was pride in creating something useful from household waste. Children learned that entertainment didn't always come from buying something. Sometimes the best fun came from imagination and basic materials. 9. Television schedules and limited channels. Speaking of TV, there were only a few channels, often in black and white. No remote controls meant getting up to change channels by hand. No recording shows for later. If you missed your favorite program, it was gone forever. Families planned their entire evening around TV schedules. Missing a show felt like missing a once-in-a-lifetime event. BBC One, BBC Two, and later ITV were the only choices. Children's programs happened at specific times, after school and weekend mornings. When children's TV ended, kids knew it was time to go outside and play. There was no endless stream of cartoons to keep them glued to screens. The TV announcer was almost like a family friend, appearing between programs to tell you what was coming next. Their voices were familiar and comforting, creating continuity between different shows. When they said goodnight at the end of broadcasting, it felt personal. Watching TV was a shared family experience. Everyone had to agree on what to watch because there was only one television in the house. This forced families to compromise and spend time together, creating shared memories around programs that everyone watched simultaneously across the entire country. 10. Shifts in fashion and youth culture. The 1960s exploded with wild new styles that shocked parents everywhere. Miniskirts that barely covered anything, bold patterns that hurt your eyes, flares that swished when you walked. Young people were creating their own identity for the first time. Mods rode scooters and wore sharp suits. Rockers had leather jackets and motorcycles. Fashion wasn't just clothes, it was rebellion. Mary Quant revolutionized women's fashion with miniskirts that scandalized older generations. Skirts got shorter every year, and parents worried about moral decay. But young women felt liberated, free to move and dance in ways that restrictive 1950s never allowed. Men's fashion changed too. The Beatles made longer hair acceptable, much to parents' horror. Tight trousers, colorful shirts, and Cuban heels challenged traditional ideas about masculinity. Fashion became a way for young people to announce their independence from their parents' values. The mods versus rockers battles weren't just about music, they were about completely different approaches to style and attitude. Mods were clean, sharp, and modern. Rockers were rough, rebellious, and traditional. These weren't just fashion choices, they were statements about what kind of person you wanted to be. Carnaby Street became the center of this fashion revolution, attracting young people from around the world who wanted to be part of something new and exciting. Fashion wasn't just about looking good, it was about belonging to a movement that was changing the world. 11. Neighborhood life and close communities. Everyone on your street knew your name, your parents' names, and probably your business too. Kids could knock on any door and ask for a glass of water. Neighbors borrowed sugar and returned the favor. Children roamed free all day, exploring every corner of their neighborhood until dark. Nobody worried because everyone was watching out for each other. Front doors stayed unlocked during the day. Children moved freely between houses, eating lunch wherever they happened to be when hunger struck. Parents didn't worry because they knew every adult in the area would act as a guardian and guide for any child who needed help. Street parties happened spontaneously when good news arrived. Everyone would drag tables onto the road, contribute food from their pantries, and celebrate together. These weren't organized events, they were natural expressions of communities that genuinely cared about each other's happiness. 12. School milk and free meals. Every school day meant one guaranteed thing: your third pint glass bottle of milk. By break time, it was usually lukewarm and sometimes had a weird taste, but every child got one. The government made sure kids had this free milk, believing it would make them stronger and healthier. Some kids loved it, others held their nose and gulped it down, but everyone remembers those little glass bottles with the foil tops. The milk monitor was a position of great responsibility in every classroom. They'd collect the crate of bottles from outside the classroom door, distribute them carefully, and collect the empties afterward. School dinners were basic but filling. Turkey Twizzlers didn't exist, you got proper meat, vegetables, and pudding. Dinner ladies in hairnets served portions that were designed to fill growing children rather than meet marketing demands. 13. Fear and awareness of bigger world events. Something magical happened in 1969. Humans walked on the moon. Suddenly, the impossible seemed possible. Kids dreamed of being astronauts while adults worried about nuclear war. On the other hand, air raid sirens were tested regularly, reminding everyone that nuclear war was a real possibility. Children practiced duck and cover drills at school, learning to hide under desks as if that would protect them from atomic bombs. The Cuban Missile Crisis made everyone hold their breath, waiting to see if the world would end. The moon landing represented everything positive about human achievement. Families gathered around television sets to watch grainy black and white footage of Neil Armstrong taking his first steps on the lunar surface. Children who had grown up with fears of nuclear destruction suddenly believed that anything was possible if people worked together. 14. Imperfect housing. Many families still lived without indoor bathrooms. Sharing toilets with neighbors was normal. Some homes had no hot water or modern conveniences we can't imagine living without today. But people made it work. They fixed things themselves, helped each other out, and found ways to be comfortable in spaces that would seem impossible now. Condensation would freeze on bedroom windows in winter because houses had poor insulation and no central heating. Children would wake up to ice patterns on the inside of their windows and think it was beautiful rather than a problem to be solved. People were resourceful and creative about making their homes comfortable. They used draft excluders, thick curtains, and hot water bottles. Families would gather in one heated room during cold evenings, creating closer relationships through necessity. 15. Respect and manners. Children were expected to behave like little adults. Talking back to grown-ups could get you in serious trouble. Swearing was shocking, not everyday language. Kids said please and thank you without being reminded. Teachers commanded respect just by walking into a room. It wasn't perfect, but there was a clear understanding of how people should treat each other. School assemblies began with prayers and hymns, regardless of individual beliefs. Children stood when adults entered rooms, offered their seats to elderly people on buses, and addressed all adults as sir or madam. These weren't empty gestures. They reflected genuine respect for experience and authority. Bad behavior had immediate consequences. Teachers could discipline students without fear of legal action from parents. Parents supported teachers' decisions and added their own punishment at home. This created consistent expectations that children understood and mostly followed. But this respect went both ways. Adults took their responsibility to children seriously, acting as guides and mentors rather than just authority figures. The clear structure gave children security and helped them understand their place in the community. 16. Fewer safety measures. Nobody wore helmets while riding bikes. Cars had no seat belts. Playgrounds had metal slides that burned your legs in summer and concrete underneath instead of soft padding. Kids climbed trees without safety gear and rode in the back of pickup trucks. It sounds dangerous now, but people had more freedom to take risks and learn from mistakes. Bicycles were simple machines without safety features. Children learned to ride by falling off and getting back on. Scraped knees and bruised elbows were badges of honor that showed you were living life fully. Parents expected minor injuries as part of growing up. Playgrounds were built for adventure, not safety. Swings went higher, slides were steeper, and climbing frames challenged children to test their limits. The concrete underneath wasn't ideal for falling, but it taught kids to be careful and take responsibility for their own safety. 17. Simple pleasures and small freedoms. The best things in life were free and simple. Staying out until dark felt like the ultimate freedom. Exploring empty lots and building forts from whatever you could find. No adults constantly watching or scheduling your every minute. Kids used their imagination to turn cardboard boxes into spaceships and sticks into magic wands. Boredom meant adventure was about to begin. Empty cardboard boxes were treasure chests of possibility. They became cars, boats, houses, and rocket ships, depending on what adventure children's imagination demanded that day. No batteries required, no instruction manual needed, just creativity and the willingness to see potential in simple materials. Collecting became a serious hobby. Children gathered stamps, coins, bottle tops, or stones with the dedication of professional researchers. Trading items with friends created social networks based on shared interests rather than manufactured entertainment products. 18. The first big, televised shared moments. When something big happened, the whole world watched together. The moon landing in 1969 stopped everything. England winning the World Cup in 1966 made entire neighborhoods pour into the streets celebrating. Everyone saw the same thing at the same time because there were fewer TV channels but more shared attention. These moments felt bigger because everyone experienced them together. England's World Cup victory created instant parties in every street. People who had never spoken to their neighbors suddenly found themselves hugging and celebrating together. Car horns honked, church bells rang, and the entire country seemed to move as one giant happy family. The 1960s weren't perfect, but they had something we've lost. Every day we had micro-adventures. Every neighborhood was a community. Every simple pleasure felt special because it wasn't guaranteed. Maybe we've gained convenience and safety, but we've also lost something harder to measure, the magic of not knowing what comes next. And there you have it, 18 unforgettable things about growing up in 1960s Britain. Which ones brought back memories for you? I'd love to hear your favorites down in the comments. If you enjoyed this little trip down memory lane, don't forget to give the video a like, and if you'd like more nostalgic videos just like this, make sure you hit subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.